And when rapid speed down to 2,500.
Give point wherever you reduce speed to 180.
Blackbox.
Hello, gang. Kenny Porter here, KP's Blackbox. Thanks for coming back today. I am super excited to have a personal great friend of mine who is a wizard at technology, Mr. David Wiesner. Dave, thanks for joining us today. The Wizard of Leap Systems. And for those of you out there who have no idea what Leap is, we're going to tell you all about Leap today. The lifetime economic acceleration process, or those in the financial business might say, let every agent produce, let every advisor produce, maybe. Is that fair?
That's fair.
So we're going to have a great time talking with Dave today. And this podcast, we really just want to get into a little bit of Dave's background, and then we're going to share with you some of the things that we talk about with our clients in our financial business. This I do for fun, Dave. This is not monetized. I think there's maybe you and one other person who views our podcast regularly. So two, but exponentially, if we can grow that, right? That's the power of compounding, right?
That's right. For better, for worse.
So for you two out there, one of them being in the studio today, thanks for watching. If you get a chance, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, or as they other smash the like button,
yes.
Smash the subscribe button,
There you go.
whatever that stuff is. Will you just let some people know if you're enjoying the podcast, let some people know about it. And one of the things that we always like to do, Dave, before we get started, and you watching the podcast, you know there's a reason we have a little spirit here on the table. Mm-hmm. And now that we're in the new studio, which, Dave, how do you like the new studio?
I love it. I think it's very swanky.
Swanky.
It's swanky, yeah, because swanky comes to mind. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
What do you think about my art that I put up here, these little pics? Did you look at any of those, by the way?
I noticed the football.
Okay.
And over that, I appreciate that. Very cool.
Yeah, so these are sketches of the patent office and when certain items were patented. And the reason I picked to put these on the wall, and I think about KP's Blackbox, in KP's Blackbox, we really want to dig into subjects that range from anything from money to oxygen. And people go, well, Kenny, money to oxygen, what do you mean? Well, those are the two most important things in life, in my opinion. Try to live a day, Dave, without money or breathing in O2. If you don't have those two things in your life, it's going to be pretty miserable pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So, we have a very broad range of topics we like to talk about, but the patent office piece up here, what blew me away is that I think it was in 1898, the patent commissioner of the United States told the president that he should shut down the patent office because everything that could have been created or designed or invented had been invented, and there was no need to have a patent office any longer. So that patent office, if the president would have believed that, and I forget, doggone, I should know that, who the president was.
The president was back then.
But can you imagine, in the patent office going to the chief officer of the United States, the commander-in-chief, and saying, President Wiesner, everything that's been created, every idea that has been thought up and been patented, they're all done.
Yeah, we're good.
We're good.
We're good.
And so I put up pictures on the wall. So that was in the 1800s.
Right.
The stock market ticker tape machine was patented November 9th, 1869. The football patent was in 1939. Can you imagine if we didn't have football?
No, I could. No.
It'd be miserable, wouldn't it?
To say the least.
The general ledger, down here in the bottom right. March 3rd, 1903, the general ledger in accounting was patented.
Fairly certain they didn't have Excel back then either.
They didn't. So without that leadership and without that ingenuity and without that mindset, man, where would we be today? The adding machine, March 26, 1940.
40.
The adding machine.
Unbelievable.
And then we've got the bank vault. That was December 4th. I can't see that, 18 something. And then the personal computer. And you think about all the things and the technology that we have today, and the reason I bring all those up is you being this tech expert, this programming expert. What else can I call you? Drummer extraordinaire.
Drummer, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, we have a fun time talking through a lot of these topics today. And I'm going to do my best to try and embarrass you today. So, all the guys out there in Leap and my fellow financial warriors and experts.
Nice.
Shout out to all the Leapers.
There you go.
We're going to try to embarrass Dave today for you and see how well we accomplish our goal there. No, I'm just kidding with you today. But I would like to do a toast. You know, we live in Hampton Roads, Virginia Beach, and this is the largest naval presence in all of the world. It's right here in Virginia Beach, or Hampton Roads, Norfolk, Virginia. Largest naval base in the world is right here. And, you know, I served as a Marine, and so I always want to pay tribute to those who have gone before me, those who are serving now, from the families to the warriors, have sacrificed everything, and those that are still sacrificing. I always like to do a little toast. And you picked Buffalo Trace?
Yeah, my wife will be proud of me with that selection.
Really? Why is that?
Big Buffalo Trace fan. During, we're kind of got turned on to bourbon by a couple of my good buddies at home, and Blanton's was really, like, I couldn't get enough of that. And then when COVID hit, coming out, you couldn't get, you know, they weren't even getting onto the trucks to be delivered most times near my house. So my wife goes in to one of the places, like, hey, do you have any, do you have Blanton's here? And they kind of laughed at her, and they said, well, we have something that's very similar, same distillery. And it was, Buffalo Trace. So she's like, all right, we'll try it. She really likes Buffalo Trace when we can get it. And of course, now that's
hard.
Oh, yeah.
When I go to the ABC store here locally, it's you have to call ahead and know when it's going to be shipped.
Yeah.
And if you don't get there, it's gone.
It's gone
in hours.
Yeah. So I appreciate it. So it's like right up there for me. Yeah.
Well, you made us open a new bottle today, so we're going to have to go. No, I'm kidding. So,
all right.
A toast to our troops.
Yes.
Cheers. Thank you
Cheers.
for your service.
And thank you for yours, Tony.
You're welcome.
And all the troops.
No, we don't have to drink it all. We can sip along the way, or we could even have Sarah come pour some more.
I didn't want to come up short
Nope.
for that's out of respect,
okay.
Kenny.
There we go.
Respect.
Man, now you embarrass me. We came, got it.
Oh my gosh, so
It's a way to start the morning. We record this usually around 9. We got a little late start today. 10:20 in the morning. Starting the day off right.
That's okay.
We're breathing flames on each other. Really.
Yeah. It's 4 o'clock somewhere, right?
That's right. 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock. 4 or 5, whatever it takes.
Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
You can drink when you want. There's no shame in the game.
There's none. It is Friday though.
That's right.
So,
and I'm sure your employer will just be happy to know that you're drinking on the job today. So, and we've documented it on film. So, cheers to Penn.
And thank you for the apple cider, Kenny.
Apple cider. That vinegar just goes down really smoothly.
Very smooth, yes.
Wow. And then we should probably start smoking too, because you're going to try to buy some more life insurance here soon.
Oh yeah, preferably cigar.
Yeah,
My wife actually suggested
that. So Dave, before we get into your world in technology, and man, let me tell you, thank you, by the way, for what you've done for all of us in the Leap systems over the years. And I know you didn't start out a Leaper like some of us old guys. And those of you who are watching and listening, a Leaper, what is that?
Yeah.
This is the software that we use in our business to help clients make financial decisions. But, your leadership there has been amazing, and what you've done to really be open-minded to listening to the Phil Forson members of Leap, It's been great, and I'm honored to have the opportunity to serve with you guys again. And I call it the board or the tri-council. What is it called?
Yeah,
Tri-council?
it's a tri-council.
Okay.
When I took, well, I don't want to say when I took over Leap, but when they brought me in to become president of Leap in August 2018, I remember I came on board and I'm still trying to figure out, what is Leap and different the users and all that,
Yeah.
and I'm just trying to get going on the business, and they were like, we think you should have a tri-council. Leap tri-council would be good. And I said, great. What's that?
What's that?
And but the more getting to know the Leapers, as you say, and Leap professionals.
Yeah.
I remember when I interviewed for the job, not to get off topic, which we want to try to do.
We're all over the place. That's fine.
Which we want to try to do. But when I was interviewed for the position, that was funny in itself because I remember through a friend recommended, I think you should talk to these people, are good people. So I go, okay. And I was sort of in between jobs almost. I was been in a job 13 years and kind of reached a plateau there. And so I had to, it's like, what's my next move?
Yeah.
And you talk to these people, they're good people. So I, okay, whatever. So I go talk to them, come home. My wife's like, oh, how'd it go? How'd the interview go? I go, it was great. She's like, well, what's the job? I said, I don't know. They didn't. I just went and talked to a couple of people at this company, the insurance company. I don't even know what the position's for. I have a feeling I know. So I came back and they offered me the position, and so getting on, I remember during the interview with the president, currently COO at the time, now Dave O'Malley he said,
Shout out to Dave.
Shout out to Dave O'Malley. Yeah, absolutely. He goes, well, tell me something about you. And I kind of was like, well, I've never been like an idea guy. Like I'm going to come up with the next brilliant idea. Like I'm going to come up with Facebook or, Google search, whatever. Yeah. But put it this way, if in football, if I had to choose, and we're talking at 2018, right?
Yeah.
I said, if I could be a GM of a football team and you gave me, and I am Joe Brunello is not going to like this, but I said, I got a choice between the Cleveland Browns or the New England Patriots. At the time, New England, just won their second like in a row and fifth or whatever. And I said, I'd rather be the GM of the Browns.
Wow.
And Dave was like, really? Why would you even want to do that?
The Browns.
And I said, because they're rock bottom.
Yeah.
But I can take one thing I am good at is I can improve a process. But my main thing is I listen to who uses it. And I'm going to have it do what they want. And if something's not working, tell me what you need.
Yeah.
And we're going to make it work. Because at the end of the day, the end user, which is yourself, Kenny, and Leapers, they make the product go. I do not.
Right.
That's how I look at it. And we're here to serve you and make sure your job is you're able to communicate to the clients, and better their lives for them. And that's where my role is. So it's kind of funny when I look back because the interview was like, I don't know the interview. I just I don't know what I interviewed for.
Yeah.
But I didn't know the position. And then I got called the next week and offered to be president of Leap. But going into it, that's how my mindset is. I don't consider myself an idea guy. My team now, over the years, they're like, you sell yourself short. I come up with things, but I just put myself in your position or as a client.
Yeah.
What would myself as a client
That's so cool, man.
want to improve? So, and that's why, anytime I can get with any users or potential users and they want to know about it, I'm like,
well, the beauty
you,
of what it's turning into, and for those of you listening today and coming into this podcast, the reason I wanted to interview you today is because of how open you are to new ideas and new thoughts. And in the Leap system, when we think about financial planning and we think about helping consumers move from where they are to where they want to be, you have to be a really good storyteller, in my opinion.
100%.
But stories have to be factual, right? Because anybody can make up a story, right?
Right.
But can the story of your life financially be played out in a way that helps you identify where you are today? We refer to that in Leap as the present position. And then well, in an ideal world, where would you like to be? And you have helped navigate through storytelling from the present position of the model that we call it the PS&G model, the protection, savings, and growth model.
Right.
You've created the ability to help that model tell stories for consumers and families that has empowered these people to improve their present financial position in a way that could be generationally powerful, or in a way that it affects multiple generations, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Correct. Yeah.
And so that's really cool. I mean, when I grew up in the system, the founder of the LEAP system was a guy named Robert Castellone.
Right.
And, he really blazed a trail of making sure that we have a system that truly holistically helps people make financial decisions that are truly in their best interest. And you can verify that if
Yep.
you use the model right. Now, there's some knuckleheads out there every once in a while that, in any system can give it a sour outlook or sour name. But
100%.
I think we're all trying to work towards the process of allowing the consumer to have the ultimate power,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to share with them, hey, these are your numbers,
Right.
and making that come alive, being able to tell that in a story that's relative to that individual, that person.
Yep.
It's a lot of fun. So I just wanted to say at the beginning of this podcast, thanks for
absolutely.
what you're doing, and shout out to Ben and Joe,
Yep.
the folks at Penn who are supporting that. Keep
Yes.
putting money into this guy.
I didn't pay.
Pay raise.
There you go. Pay
He needs a
raise.
pay
Yeah.
raise. He needs to buy some more insurance, so he needs a pay raise. So
yep.
come on, Dave.
Can never have enough.
Help him out.
Yep.
Am I embarrassing you yet?
Not yet.
No? Okay. All
You're
right.
doing good though.
So let's back up a little bit.
Okay.
How in the world did you get there? So from where you were to where you are now, what blew me away is I was snooping around on your Instagram.
Uh-oh.
I was stalking you, and I saw a dude with hair playing drums.
Wow. I gotta.
Was that you?
The hair part, I don't know, but the drums part.
You can either confirm or deny.
Confirm it. Yeah. No.
I
That's
wish
been-
if Jacob was here today, we could put some pictures up.
Oh.
Jake's out of
Right.
town dealing with his little girl.
No, that's
so
good. I
we-
paid for him
we
to
should
be out
just
of town
do that.
personally.
Oh, great.
So he wouldn't put up my pictures.
Great.
Yeah, no, a couple things. It's kind of funny when I look back and I, turned 55 in March, which is cool. And it's just a
Happy
number.
birthday.
Thank
Belated.
you. It's just a number. That's the
That's
one
right.
thing. If I look at anybody, you look at different people, they could see they ran through some people. You think, wow, are you 70? Yeah, no, I'm 45. Just it's a tough life, right?
The financial business wears on you.
Oh gosh, yeah, I know. 55. I know someone thought I was like 90, but
Oh, jeez.
no, I'm just kidding.
Was that your father?
So it's my dad. It was.
Son, you've caught me.
Yeah, sorry, Dad. But he, I started. So when I look, it's kind of funny when I look back in my life, and it's like, what did I enjoy doing, right? So I talk to my kids, and I always say, when they were going to college, like, what do you, go for? It seemed like it was easier back in our day. Like, when I went to college, like, oh, I knew what I'm going to do because I was good at it, and I guess that's what I'm going to do for a living, right? And now you have so many, they don't know. You have so many kids, and you hear them in the college of nightmares. You start with one thing, and you don't know, and then you're, my son had that issue. He thought he wanted engineering, but when he gets into it, it's not the fun engineering. It's, all the painful stuff. So it's like, yeah, I don't want to do that. But then there's my daughter who always wanted to be a teacher. So for me, I enjoyed three things growing up. That's all I knew. When I was 2 years old, my parents had a picture of me drumming in the backyard. The trash cans surrounding me. I had water pistols, and apparently I was singing "Yellow Submarine" by the Beatles, right? And I was very influenced by the Beatles because my oldest sister Renee, she had like all the cool, like we had a hi-fi. You know, kids don't even understand what that is anymore. Like the big 45 red, the Red album as we call it. You know, the Beatles, the Red album. My dad had the Yellow Submarine album, the blue. Cool.
Do you still have those vinyls?
My dad, I think my dad still has them
wow.
or something. It's just, and they don't make them anymore. Like, they started making the new records again.
Right.
They're not those thick.
Yeah.
And you already put the needle and you hear that, yeah. And it's just like, oh, so good, right? Yeah. And now everything's too clean. It's like everything, you know what I mean?
Right.
We don't appreciate, kids nowadays don't appreciate you can't skip to the next song. You have to lift the needle.
And find the little space.
Right, find the groove, right. And it's like, I think this is the third. Did I count 3 over? Right? So
these kids are like, what
the
hell
so
are y'all talking about?
Fast forward, you don't even know what that is, you know. And so I'd like listen to that, and I don't know, the drumming, just like, I always, ever since I could even walk, I don't even remember, like I had a love for drums. Like I remember counting the days until back in the day, you couldn't take lessons until I was in 3rd grade. And I remember going, I was so happy. I still remember I had the 2 drumsticks, some drum pad, this rubber thing. And I'm going, oh yeah, just going. And I was like, and I would, he's like, all right, we're going to work on page 1. I'm like, oh my God, so boring. Like just tap. Yes, I get it. All right. And I would like fly through it. I would do the entire book, these Hal Leonard books. And it'd always be ahead, and never be like cocky at all. But like that's what I enjoyed. And I was like 8.
It was like
old.
it was innate, like it was born
totally
into
innate,
you, like,
totally innate. And it's kind of funny. The funny part is, so my mom, we always joke because like every time my parents would be at a thing, like my dad would try dancing. He'd say, "Oh, you get the rhythm from me," and my mom would be like, "No." Like my dad, he would try to act like he did, but my dad was. He had so many other strengths. Music was not one though, and I just always had a passion for it. And I still remember where I was. It's kind of funny growing up. My parents, like, I never got anything. Like I always joke, and my son, we laugh about it now. My dad swears this never happened. I don't know if this is you, where your parents go, "You had everything. You never."
Oh, of course,
right? Yeah. The stories are always right. But like I had the Evel Knievel doll, no motorcycle. I'm like,
yeah.
What am I supposed to do with this? Right? But it was like, my dad would always be like, "Oh, you don't need that. Dad, can I get a real football?" "Nah, you get a plastic one. It's the same thing, right?" I'm like, yeah, whatever. Star Wars, when the Star Wars action figures, right, came out, like 80s, I'm like, oh, they would get me a knockoff version, Star Wars.
Star Wars?
Star Wars, like R3D4. I'm like, what is this? Yeah. So I'll never.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. No, I'm dead serious about this. This is how I was growing. I was the youngest of 3.
We're going to have a conversation with your dad.
He denies everything to this day, but my sisters know. So I'll never forget. It was like, early 80s, 81. And the one thing that he did pay for, ironically, was cable. So I'm sitting there, so, MTV.
Oh, God, yeah.
And my oldest sister, Renee, and sometimes we don't always see eye to eye, but she was very cool. She went to Live Aid.
Oh, wow.
She got me the T-shirt, and she had like the Boston album. Remember the first Boston album with the guitars on fire?
Oh, man.
So this was my influence.
The harmony of the Boston.
Oh,
God. I saw on Instagram the other day that they muted the instruments and just had, God, what's the lead singer's name? More than a feeling.
Oh, they had him just
singing. And I was like, oh my God. His voice is beautiful.
Tremendous.
But the falsetto and where they could take notes. Like somebody had to be underneath the table squeezing their kahuna.
Squeezing tightly, yeah. Yeah, just unreal. Yeah, that album.
I love Boston.
And that really got me in. So I started watching MTV. Very influential. And I still remember to this day. So this is the funny part. So everybody always asks me, like, because I've been playing drums for years and years and years. And they always laugh. And they're like, well, what really got you going? And I was like, I'll never forget. There was like 2 drummers. The first band was Def Leppard.
Can you play one-armed? too soon?
Yes.
That's
Yes, pour some sugar on me. When I was in bands, I would do it. I'd put the one arm behind people like, dude, that's totally classless. But I'm like, I can't play this song with two arms. Because he didn't. But anyway. There is video out there of me doing one arm.
Really?
I got to get it to you.
I want to see that.
I will get it to you.
If we can get that in post-production, Jake.
I will get it. I'll
Usually,
make
if
it happen.
we could, Jake is like Jamie on Joe Rogan.
Oh, yeah.
If
Okay.
you start talking about something, he will find
He's got
you,
it up automatically.
and boom, we get it up on the screen.
He'll have it next week, guaranteed.
Okay.
So I started like Def Leppard, the band, and I still remember that's the first album I bought. I rode my bike to Turtle Mute. Remember when we used to have actual stores that you go buy them? A good old kids don't appreciate, right? Same place we go wait in line at Turtles in the morning for the concert tickets,
right?
Not Ticketmaster.
Yeah. There was no Ticketmaster back then, right?
No,
I don't know. I don't remember Ticketmaster.
I don't know.
Back in the day.
I just know my parents never let me, if I wanted to go to a concert, and I would even ask my
wait
father.
in line, right?
I could, but my dad would be like, aerospace engineer, conservative, Army ROTC, commissioned officer. Like he wouldn't let me out of the he wouldn't let me out of the house out of it after 8 p.m.
Right.
Like, what? What do you need to do that, sport? Yeah. So I remember like it came on. I was like, drove my bike up there this summer, 82. Pyromania comes out.
Oh wow.
And I'm in like first year of high school, and I'm a drummer, and I'm like in the back room. I'm like listening to this. I'm playing it, and all the other kids are like, "Wow, your parents let you buy this?" I said, "No."
So I'm trying to envision this because I look at Dave Wiesner today and how I know Dave, and I think this conservative computer programmer type driving down the road listening to some Mozart. But if we could get inside your car by yourself and listen to what's on I don't know. I don't even want to say the radio anymore because
No.
What device do you use to listen to?
I guess now like my iPhone, my iTunes playlist. My 80s iTunes play. I have one. I have an iTunes 80s playlist. So you've got to have Motley Crue. Their first album.
Yeah.
Shouted that when their first album was before that, but the first when I saw the video of Looks at Kill, that's where I was like, that's what I want. I'm going to play drum set like that. Like I've got them, and then of course this other band that I used to hate before I went to college, some little band called Rush.
Oh,
every year Modern Drummer would come out, and they'd be like Drummer of the Year Neil Peart. Or actually, Peart. I'm pronouncing it wrong. And
is it really what?
It is actually Peart.
But everybody
call it Peart.
Peart, yeah.
Right?
That's wow. We learned something today.
There you go. All right, I'm done.
Yep.
No,
drop the mic.
I'm dropping.
Kick it away.
I'm out. But
I had no clue.
And when I started following them. Ironically, my first year of college.
Wow.
College, I really just. My summer session, I had to start college in the summer, and my buddy, my best friend I met, who ended up being my best man in my wedding, Dave Dennis, he's still to this day.
Awesome.
He had like every Rush album, and I just like one time studying, I'm like, what was that album? And I start listening to Moving Pictures. I'm like, oh my god, the best album. Like someone tell me another one that's better. Like from start to finish, no. That's still so like with Neil Peart drumming, like that's my influence. So like I'm a cross between him and Tommy Lee with the flashy. I just want to pound the drums. I just thought that was the coolest thing. And so that's like I've morphed my style over the years, and I don't. It's just like it's in you. Like I always hear people go.
So you still play today?
I do.
You have a set of drums at home?
I got 2 sets.
2 sets. Why 2?
Oh, one's the big one, and
we say big like it has all the.
Oh yeah, it's got the
cymbals and what? Tell me all the bass and the snare.
Yeah, you got the bass drum. You got different sizes bass. This one's like a 22-inch deep, so it's kind of deep. Which
and size matters.
Oh, size definitely matters in drum. Size does matter. Depending. The older you get, you finally go. When you first want to drum, you're like, you get your first gig, you're like, oh yeah, I want to have 19 cymbals, and I'm going to get there 3 hours early. I'm going to set up a 15-piece kit, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18-inch floor tom. Like, you got like cymbals everywhere, so you can't miss. Right, that's what it's for.
That's what it's for. Really, is just don't miss.
And pretty much, drummers won't tell you, but you're like, if you hit that one drum, you need that one drum for one song to hit it one time. All right, whatever. But after you start, but if you're in a real band,
and
you're playing night after night, and you're the one setting it up and tearing it down, and putting it back in your house, and then taking it out of your house, and then
you're using the KISS principle now, huh? Keep it simple.
Keep it simple, and I'll leave off the last S.
Right.
I like that for savings. The last S for savings.
That's awesome.
So it's like, you're right. It's just like as you go, it's like you get, you go, do I really want to do that? What can I fit in my car? Can I get three? Can I walk to my car and back 3 times and I'm all set up? Can I get away with just 2 cymbals, crash cymbals, like? And you finally get to a point where you're like, you realized a couple of years ago, I kind of realized, you know what? Like, I'm old. Like, I don't think I am, but when I hear my daughter go, Dad, it's not cool. Like, you think it's cool, but she doesn't think I'm cool, but her friends do. I don't know. I want to hear it out of her mouth. So so that's the other kid I have. So I've got like a little 18.
She's going to think you're cool now. You're on a podcast being interviewed.
I hope so.
You're like, whoa, Dad, you made it. You're on KP's Blackbox.
I'm on KP's Blackbox, man. I mean, like,
I actually have some old T-shirts. I survive KP's Blackbox.
No way.
I'll give you one.
I'll wear it the next gig I've got.
There you go.
So that's cool.
So cool. And then I'm going to go from 2 listeners or watchers.
We can at least get like 5.
We'll get to 5.
We'll be at least 5.
Man, that
at
is
least
so cool.
5.
Thank you so much for doing that.
That's why I'm here.
So cool, man.
But get back to like songs wise, like I'll tell like bands. I'm an '80s guy, like hair metal bands.
Me too.
Hair metal.
My wife Kathleen just jokes the crap out of me.
Does she?
All right, so can I give you my list?
Bring it.
At the top, and you're probably going to laugh me out of here. Prince.
So underrated as a musician overall. Tremendous.
The dude could play any
every
instrument.
Every instrument. Yep.
So I would put Prince at the top.
Yep.
That surprises a lot of people. And then you're going to laugh at this one, I'm sure.
I'm trying not to.
The Outfield.
Oh.
I love The Outfield. Yep. See?
No. I'm thinking the song. Sing it. Can you give me a couple lyrics? You're not even going to try?
Yeah. Sarah's in there she's probably cutting my mic off now.
Sarah, I love her.
Sarah, are you napping yet?
Sarah, you there?
Hearing 2 old men reminisce about the 1980s.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. Sound like a little mouse. Sarah, do you want to try to bring up anything on the screen? Do you think you can do it?
You could pull it up on your laptop. I'll throw it up there.
Oh, no, that's going to be. We might do that in a little bit.
We might do that, yeah.
So
Right,
I would say
the
the Outfield.
Yep.
U2.
Solid. I mean, Bono.
Yeah, so if I was getting into my revolution spirit, and
Yes.
just be not Prince in the revolution, but if I wanted to be a revolutionary, if I wanted to be a rebel, I was starting to
U2 live under Blood Red Sky, at Red Rocks, their live album they had. I listened to that so many times.
So badass.
So good.
Yeah.
I think as a band, their overall sound. Now, I was underwhelmed by the drummer, but sometimes you can't have.
But he was simple, right?
He was just. Sometimes you got like. I mean, you got Ringo Starr. You can't have like
Sunday Bloody Sunday. Do me.
Oh yeah, Sunday. Oh yeah, that was like the level set. Like, can you play Sunday Bloody Sunday? Like trying out for bands, and it's like, okay, you're okay. Yeah. Right, that's solid band. Yeah, okay, keep going.
Yeah.
Solid. Yep.
All right,
U2.
let's see. U2. And I'm going to go off the grid a little bit and bring up Molly Hatchet.
Oh.
Some Southern rock. 38 Special.
Real great. It's
Leonard
overall
Skinner.
sound just tremendous.
Yeah, that's my Southern boy coming out of me now. Clearwater Revival.
Oh, CCR, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but then I could switch over and be like poppy, like Huey Lewis in the News.
Oh, he was
Duran
he had
Duran.
such a great run. Duran. Oh boy, so
Yeah.
many good songs.
Yeah.
And they're not easy. Like it's kind of funny. You hear some of these bands, and it's like, from a drummer's perspective, it's like, oh, it's 4/4, and I don't know if you know, it's just
I'm
like
tracking. Yeah.
yeah, it's just like before prog rock, right? Like Rush could, let's do 4/4 songs. Like, oh, like it was just trying,
Yeah.
but a lot of simple 4, but like the sound, and then the main thing is, you know what it is? It's like, and maybe this is where I got my start, like with Leet and being like clients,
Yeah.
and putting myself in a client shoes, is when you listen to a song, it's a band's good or the song's good if it's got a good hook where you can leave. So, like so here's a good example, right? We're getting off
Yeah.
topic.
No,
This is
it's
great.
awesome.
This is great. A couple years ago, my buddy Kyle, we go see one of my all-time favorite bands, again, Iron Maiden.
Oh wow.
So sometimes you hear
Yeah.
that, you're like, eesh, like a little rough, Are you
Right.
sure you're an Iron Maiden fan? Guy, do I have long hair? Well, I have no hair. But but their drummer is Nico McBrain, and he was one of my favorites. And before him, they had Clive Burr. This guy had chops. I mean,
Yeah.
just sick, right? Like Number of the Beast. If I say, like almost everyone, you don't
Yep.
know Iron Maiden, you're not a fan. But if I said the Number of the Beast, everybody goes, oh, that's Iron Maiden.
Iron
Everybody
Maiden,
knows,
right.
right? And we go see Iron Maiden in concert, right? So we go in Philly, we go to Wells Fargo, and it's just me and him, and we get these seats, and we're like the side of the stage. And again, and this is usually what happens, and we get there early, and we're like, all right, there's some band opening. All right, whatever. So we're like just checking them out. And they all come out, and they're wearing masks. So me, I'm old school. I'm already going, yeah, this is a joke. Right? This band's going to suck. Right? Can I say
Yeah,
suck on
we can
the
say
black
shit.
box?
We can say
Shit.
damn.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Sarah, you're not hearing this. Don't judge me. So I'm like, so we're there early and we're listening, and this band starts off this first song, and I'm like, I like, you can close your eyes. I'm like, I love it. Like the hook, I'm hooked on this song. Then they do the next song. I'm like, great hook, and it's like boom, boom. But every song, I'm like, now if you looked at them, you'd be like, this is. They're wearing masks, and the guy comes out, he's wearing like, kind of like, looks like a priest out. And I haven't mentioned the band name yet, right? And I'm sitting there going, I think these guys really kick ass. Like,
Yeah.
like the drummer's not doing anything wonderful. He does a couple little things, but I'm like, but they're performing. Like, they're upstage, they're moving around, they're like into it, they're like
captivating.
Captive. And I'm like, this is amazing. And then I hear the band's name's Ghost, and they've had like a lot of albums before me seeing them. And I'm like I could close I'm like immediately going out, and I'm downloading, I'm getting what's the current album that they just did, what's the previous album, listening. I'm like, oh my God, I can't get enough of these hooks. It's the hooks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like, like a lot of things go into a band. A lot of things do. But like hooks are the easiest thing. Like Zeppelin.
Oh my
right?
gosh, Led Zeppelin. Yeah.
Zeppelin, right? Everybody loves Zeppelin, but they had hooks in the song. Now, I'm a little snobbish. Like, I'm a Zeppelin fan. I can listen to them for a while. Like, yes.
Yeah.
But after a while, I got to turn it off because it's just like, yes, the high pitched voice, and Zeppelin, it's the same. Like the riffs were great. Every song was just like, you hear a song, you can name any song, and I'll say, I could tell you, I go, that's a riff, and then they go to this chord, then they might go into this, then they go back to the riff, and the end of the song.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but the riffs, like they were coming up with it. They were the first, like Beatles were the first band. Like,
right.
Where you got like, they were actually like a rock band when they came here. They got the cool drummer, Ringo. Ringo Starr. Like, oh, are you going to be a Ringo? I'm like, but if you look at some of the parts he played, like, they weren't like normal. Like, he would do weird stuff here and there, and I'd always wish I'd heard, like, was that his idea, or was that like Paul McCartney?
Yeah.
George Harrison, you got, like John Lennon.
John Lennon.
Think of those
I was
names.
like, okay,
Think of those
you're gonna make me
names.
name all the, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking, I'm like, but you hear those musicians, and then you go, like, tremendous. And I think Paul McCartney was such an like, when you say, like, his bass playing, you listen to some of these songs, because I'm currently playing in a band now, having to learn a bunch of these songs. his bass playing, like he was, like I think he was the most, like he could be an underrated bass player of all time, possibly.
So my middle son Jacob, who's our typical producer of the podcast, I mean, he
Okay.
would be geeking out with you right now, and I would just sit back and let you guys talk. But when he went to music school at Liberty University, and so he had to audition for, he was going to guitar performance. He's an amazing guitarist.
Oh wow!
And so it's classical that you have to play, that you start out, right?
Yeah.
And so
It's tough. Yeah.
but he really learned a lot about the theory of music in that first year. But in order to make it into the school, he had to audition. And his audition song was Blackbird.
Really?
Blackbird. And what was interesting is that when he played it, he said his professor teared up. He was like, "Man, that's a beautiful song. You did a great job with it. That was the song I played to audition for my professor." And
Wow.
so he was like in with Blackbird.
Yep.
But he quickly kind of moved away from that classical to moving more into, the freedom of that non-classical genre. And the guitar even changed, instead of being the round
Yep.
at the top, there's the cutout where
Yeah,
you can
the
get
cutouts you
down
get. Yeah.
the higher pitch
There you go.
on the notes.
Yep.
Is there anything like that in drumming where, you have a classical drummer, a jazz drummer,
Yes.
pop or rock? Tell us the difference in those, and then we're going to draw some correlation into that, into financial planning and
I love it.
lead.
I'm there. Yeah, actually, so, coming up in the 80s, like my original drum instructor, so I remember Mark Beecher, and I shout out to Beach, because what I've found out in my lifetime is like drumming, software, like people that really have like I would link to, you know what I mean? Like how you just kind of jive with someone and it helps your love for something. And sometimes they don't realize it, just where he wasn't like telling me you're doing that wrong. Like my drum instructor wouldn't be, you're doing that wrong. You need to do that or something, He never did. He would just take what I'm at and he'd be like, all right, let's just try doing this. And he would never tell me I'm wrong. That's the biggest thing. Like I did it because I just had a passion for it.
Yeah.
Like he would never tell me you need to practice. It's just like a love.
Isn't
right?
there some thought process of a person who plays is it called in front of the beat versus behind?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
like those guys, there are some guys who are really, really naturally good, but that they will sometimes be in, like the timing is just slightly off, but it still works.
Yes.
Am I saying that right?
Yeah, it's usually like back in the 80s, I heard about this where they had like a metronome, and they would want you to play on
it.
time.
Time,
And you
just
got to be
hit.
right on.
Right.
But true music is not done that way. It's a lot of speeding up. So it's just a natural, like when Zeppelin would do their albums, they would just go hit the record button and go. There's
In a-
no metronome.
In a rock band,
Rock band. Just rock.
who's the conductor?
Usually there's a drum shirt I got that says the tempo is, and at the bottom it says whatever I say it is. Which is
That's why I
true.
asked, because it's
Which-
usually the drummer, right?
Yeah, like it's hard to stop the ball rolling downhill, as sometimes they say. Like I remember, like I thought it was, and I'm sure Jacob, I have a feeling I'm not going to like him. Just because
He's a guitarist.
it's a guitarist. The fact he can get some old footage of me.
Yeah.
So I still remember to this day where in high school. So the big holdup is like I wasn't a popular kid in high school at all. In fact, there was like a popular group in high school. There was the Cliques in the 80s, and I wasn't one of them. I followed in, like I was like the band geek. And I thought it was cool. Like, oh, you're a band geek. No, I'm a drummer.
Yeah.
We're cool. And they're like, and then I'd hear from like my wife afterward, who we went to high school together. We were just friends though. And she was like, no, you're in the band. Man, you're a geek, band geek. And I'm like, that's not cool. Cause I said, well, no, I was in the drums. She was like, no, whatever. And,
I was a football player, and I had the utmost respect for my band buddies, because when we go run out on the field and that drum orchestra
Yeah.
is sitting, just
There you go.
And they've
right.
and you're getting all pumped up because the drum, you're feeling the beat, and you're
Yep.
like, oh man, this rocks.
Yeah.
And they're setting the tone for how the energy it builds from music.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the drums are the cornerstone of that, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, yeah. And that's what drew it to me when I was little. I remember my sisters both were in band. In fact, my parents were like, "You got to play an instrument," because we heard that people in band are good people. 'Cause I just remember my mom telling me this story back when she was alive, and I was like, "What?" And so I would just be at parades, and they'd be marching by in the drums. Like the drum, I'd just be waiting. The drums came, and I just was like
Mesmerized.
yeah, it was just something. You know, it is kind of funny when you go people that like go, I want to learn how to play drums versus, I don't know, like it just was something in me. Like I never took drum lessons for the drum set. I would go downstairs every day in high school. I get home from school. I reckon you can tell by my grades. I was like the Bart Simpson. I always say I was the Bart Simpson of high school. I would come home, throw my books down, run down to my basement, look at the $400 Jet drum set, which is like, I didn't even care. It was 5 drums. I remember my dad was like, oh my God, when I got my first drum set, oh my God, Kenny. My dad was grueling. God, I don't know. And the kid, like this kid's like pulling this drum set down. It's this sparkle red 5-piece. And I'm like, and my eyes are, and I'm like, I'm getting a drum set. It's 8th grade. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like I am someone. Right?
Yeah.
Like I was like, this is how like outcast. I don't say outcast, but I just wasn't in the in crowd.
Yeah.
Did my own thing. And they would never have guessed I listened to like Motley Crue, Rat, Dokken, every hair band I thought was just the coolest. Just
Slaughter.
It was my out like Slaughter's in the 90s, you know. Fly the Angels. And I'm like, they pull it down. I still remember this day, like they get the drums. They put the drums on the conveyor. It's 5-piece drum set.
Yeah.
That was standard back then, the 80s, 5-piece. And your ride cymbals all over. I'm leading in because I'm answering the question. You said like, so the ride cymbals over here, and you have like these 2 toms and a floor tom and a snare and hi-hat, and then a crash cymbal, right? So I remember the guy brings us down, this kid, and he's like, maybe he's like 19. And, he brings down, there's my dad, the ultra-conservative dad. So he's sitting there, and he worked at Boeing 37 years.
Wow.
So my dad's like him and Han. God, I don't know. Because my dad, he can't relate. Because when he grew up, he wasn't allowed to play sports because he had to work.
Yeah.
Met my mom when he was 16. Went to Army Art. He went to Drexel.
Yeah.
Mechanical engineer, Army ROTC. Then he went there for his master's in aerospace, put himself through college. Just, he didn't have the luxuries that I did. And he always say, I didn't want my son, my kids. He didn't want them going through what he had to growing up.
He would have loved my father because my father was the Baptist minister who was out there burning the records. Teenagers would bring the records, and this was the backmasking day, all their secret messages in the songs.
Ozzy.
Smoke marijuana, like Sticks. You're playing backwards and back. Smoke marijuana,
Right,
smoke marijuana. And, so it was kind of taboo in our house to listen to rock music. Like it was not appropriate.
No.
You could, don't influence your friends with that. Next thing you know, it's the gateway. You're going to smoke weed and you're going to start hitting acid. And so I grew up in that era where it was, those bands were bad.
Right, we're seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I think that saved me, if I was the oldest child, no shot. Like I'd have no shot of even getting drums. But because I was the third, and I was the only son, I think that definitely helped. But I just remember him buying the kit. Now it's $400 for the drum set. $400.
Which wasn't cheap back then, right? I mean,
You think all things relative?
Yeah.
Probably not, looking back. But I just remember the kid, like, I have these 2 cymbal stands, and this kid's walking it up, and I'm telling you, it was like a mile. It felt like a mile from the register. And I could see my dad, he's like still like not sold on buying this kit. I'm like, and the kid's walking, we're slowly walking up to it, and we're almost to the register. I'm like, we're almost there. I almost have my drums. Oh my God. I was like, we almost did. And the kid looks at my dad, he goes, so you need cymbals? And my dad looks at me, he gives me, I still never did it this day. You need that too? Like, because that would have been the deal. Because I look at my dad, I'm like, like he would have told him to stop the drums now. We're leaving and I went, no, I don't need cymbals. No, I didn't need cymbals. So I played for 2 months with no cymbals. I played the rims for 2 months. I played the rims,
And the rims being the outer layer
of the drum.
snare
So
or
yep,
the tongue.
So it seemed like it started off like traditional. Was like at least in the 80s, it was 5-piece. You had 2 drums on the bass drum and a floor tom, and then over time, you added more drums. So like in the 80s, everything was like, you got to show up. You had 2 bass drums, and you had like 6 drums, and you were the cool drummer. So I got with these bunch of guys in high school, and my senior year, we're going to play the variety show. And that was like, we're going to play in front of everybody. And kind of in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, now I could be the cool kid. And you're going to see how badass I am because I'm going to be on stage. I got short hair because my dad never let me grow it long. But I'm playing the drums like Tommy Lee and Nico McBrainer. And so I didn't even care. Like, I didn't even know if these guys could even play instruments. I didn't even care. I'm like, I'm getting up on stage. We're going to kick ass. And I'm going to look cool. And I'm going to be the cool kid for about an hour. So,
and all the girls are going to hand you a little piece of paper with a phone number on it, right?
I thought that, of course, it never happened. The story of my life, never.
But you still ended up with your princess, right?
Yes, I did.
I'm going to try to dig you out of that one. So.
Yeah, pretty. Yeah, no, I did. Totally. And we sat next to each other in the homeroom for 4 years in high school. Just talked, and went to college 5 years. I saw our 5-year reunion, and that's where we started dating. Got 10 months later. I'm like, yeah, this is no brainer.
So it sounds like you're a man of patience.
I don't. You'd think I'm not though. I'm a doer. I got to see results. That's sometimes my problem. Like I know things. Things take time at times, but I'm a result guy.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Do you think that is influenced from your drumming? That because you can sit down at a set of drums and you can start to finish. There's a sequence. There's a pattern.
It could be
strategy.
Definitely, maybe that's it. Because sometimes they say like my background, like most musicians. Like by the way, you mentioned Boston. Yeah. Do you know where the main lead guy was from? What college?
MIT.
MIT, right? Yeah. So
Wizard.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. Like I forget what he was. His major was some kind of like nuclear engineering. Something.
Yeah, I think it was engineering of some sort. I can't remember.
Yeah, but and so I've always said that. My mom actually said that. God, she was always right. My mother was always right. Like sometimes you could always not like hearing what she said, but she was always right. And she used to say, I'm good. I was always good with math, and computers came easy to me. And ironically, that was drumming. Like I just had a passion for it. It wasn't like I got to go practice. It was like I'm going downstairs to do it. And really, it's kind of funny how it's kind of related to what I do now. Like I don't know whether you want to geek out on financials. Like
why not?
Who geeks out on financials? But I think a lot of things are like I would never be even thinking of things in my 30s. But I had some things happen to close friends of mine. That really impacted me like a few years going right into becoming president of Elite. And I think because of that, that's really affected me as a client of Elite. Like I'm like, not just like the hair club for men, but I'm actually being a client of Elite and the president. Like I'm, there's one thing to be like, I could become the president of Campbell Soup.
Yeah.
But if I hate soup, then am I really going to do it justice to the product?
And that's what I appreciate about you, Dave, is that, even though we had the creator of the system, Robert Castellon, brilliant man, brilliant. Harsh on you if you went to one of his symposiums.
And showed up late, I heard.
Oh, my God, he would just rip you apart. So it was almost like we used to say going to Mecca, right? Like Al Dickens and guys like that can relate. Shout out to Al.
There you go.
But you coming into Leap Systems and coming into the position of president and leading that, you approached it from a technology point of view, which to me is like that's where the rubber meets the road, is that how do we use the science, the technology to prove what the stories have been saying all along, and the stories being the facts
Right.
of laying out for a consumer how taking a certain position compared to another position, and being able, and I guess what I'm stumbling around here is that in the early days of Leap, everything was handheld computers, HP, a financial calculator.
Sheets.
Yep, the sheets, the
yeah.
PS&G worksheets,
Yep.
the blue, red, green,
Pens.
black pens.
Yep.
That we would lay out the methodology on these worksheets. But, the advisor would sit back with this financial calculator and put in present value, future value, interest rates. But there was no story in that. But that was the math that proved the story that you were sharing with that prospect or with that client. And so just putting numbers on a piece of paper, like I had guys in the industry who were a lot smarter than me. It's not hard to be a lot smarter than me, by the way, but a lot smarter than me, who, they had the academia, they had the alphabet soup behind their name.
Right.
And they were very, very technical. And so when a client would come in and want to know, hey, can you help me financially? Can you help me make a financial decision with, should I have term insurance? Should I have whole life? Should I have a qualified plan? Should I have a Roth? Should I have a traditional IRA? Should I have this stock or that stock? Should it be dividend paying or should it be growth?
Right.
And the individual on the other side, and I'm not faulting guys like you who are very technology based or very numbers based,
Right.
but that person would show up sometimes and just vomit the math.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no meaning, there was no story, there was no relation. And
Right.
well, what do these numbers mean to you? What is it that you want to accomplish? And just like with music tells a story, right? Mm-hmm. Most songs that are written, it either comes from some pleasure or some pain that the writer experienced.
Correct.
And the drummer, the guitarist, or maybe the lead, and then the lead guitarist, and what's the other? The melody.
Bass. The melody. Yeah.
Bass.
Rhythm. Guitar.
Yeah,
There you
the
go.
rhythm guy.
Yeah.
Jake would be just so embarrassed with hearing me try to stumble through this right now. But it takes the orchestra, it takes all of those moving pieces
Mm-hmm.
to help take that underlying story, be told in a way that leads a person to action,
Yes.
right? Mm-hmm. Like what you did as a boy when, you heard Ghost, I think you said it was.
Yeah.
And then the action was, oh my God, I need more of this. I want to know more.
Mm-hmm.
But had they not been good storytellers, had they not been able to take that music of bringing together the drummer with the basses, with the guitarist, with the lead singer, it could have been a great lyric. It could have been a great hook, but in the wrong hands,
Correct.
it gets lost.
Right.
And what I love about what you've done with Leap Systems is you've been able to verify for years all the stories that everyone's told by living it out personally. And I think that's where you were going a minute ago with, and if you would, share that story with your friend that you've shared with me on a number of times who things didn't end well for him, but it had an impact on you. That story, that reality had an impact on you that you were able to go have an advisor. We'll shout out to Ben Rovey,
Mm-hmm.
Who uses Leap and I would say is a master at Leap.
Yeah.
Was able to help you navigate the software, the numbers, the math that you already knew.
Right.
It was already there in your mind, but no one presented it to you in a way that turned it into a story that you could relate to take massive action to improve where you are
Right.
currently, and not only in today, in the present position, but in the future. So I think you were headed down that path. Hopefully, if I'm not taking you down the wrong path, but
No.
you had started talking about your friend. So
Yeah. No, he so I was friends with someone, coached his childhood football, and we were just like He's that kind of friend that would just call you, and he had a lot. He had 4 boys, and he wouldn't be calling to Brad, set you up. Kenny, how's your daughter doing? Great. Oh yeah, well, you know what my son did. There was never that. It was just like driving by, thinking of you. How you doing? Like that. Just saw the earth, kind of guy. And so, at the time, like working with our money and things like that, and we were working with people there, and I'm like, on year 8 of year 10 of a life policy, I'll say, because it doesn't matter what kind it is, but we'll say, obviously it's term. And I was like, my daughter at the time, she's like going in year 3 of college. My son's right behind, he's in high school. And I'm like, are we doing all right? Do I have enough insurance? Like, I feel like I need more. And they were like, no, you should be fine. And, unfortunately he finds out he gets sick and it goes downhill quick and, passes away. And I still never understand like these Irish wakes. I do not get it. We're there and people are like jovial and like trying to like reminiscing about like fun stuff. And I had to wear shades the whole time inside. I've never been like, I didn't cry at my mother's funeral. I didn't, I was a mess. I was a mess with this guy, and I don't know how people do it, but I felt, but then, coming out of it, his, like, I don't know, to me, like, they weren't set up, his own family, I don't feel were set up the way that I would want, and I'm relying on him to provide me and my family. Like, if something happened to me, I wouldn't, I don't want the situation I was seeing unfold with his family. And, so I knew when I came in, like I was probably like the prime person. So like, ironically, right when I came in and they made me president of LEAP, like I'm a client and we were doing great. Like I thought we were doing good saving and all that stuff.
Right.
And, someone starts going through and it's like, oh my gosh, like, making decisions years ago. And I consider our family affluent. It's not like, oh, well, you have a lot of money, or you don't have enough, you don't need to be worried. Yeah. Everybody benefited from it. And I was like, from a client perspective, I was taken through LEAP process. And I'm like, this was so valuable. This is what I was lacking with. Like I was dealt with 3 other financial professionals. Some had investment companies and they would have people, quote unquote, they're our family planners, So it's like, oh, good, you'll help me. What do we need to do for college plan? And they'd be like, oh, yeah, right. Like, and and you'd feel good going out like, oh, good, we have a plan for college, right? Right. We didn't really discuss anything else, but yeah, but that's good. So
we checked off that one need.
Yeah. That box is checked. Oh, good. We'll worry about the other one in like 5 years, right? Yeah. And, but they were the first one where everything was thought of. So things I didn't even think about that may affect us was brought to light,
Can I give a visual of that?
Absolutely, yeah.
I think that's a nice segue to say, well, this needs base that you were dealing with. Sarah, don't turn this on while I'm putting my passcode in. Okay, now you can put it up. Oh, of course I put it in wrong. But nothing like killing the story. There we go. So, this story unfolded for you with this picture I have up on, and folks will be able to see this now.
That's correct.
That I think what you were sharing is that you had a need and you were asking about a specific need. And you're what you had experienced with the passing of your friend, advisor, and the way he unfortunately had done some things.
Correct.
Didn't end well for his family.
Right.
And you didn't want to repeat that. If that process was what you were experiencing,
right?
Then you didn't want to see that happen for you. Am I saying that right?
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't want, God forbid, anything happen to me. I would not want my wife have to go through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So this model up here on the board, this is what you took over using this system called LEAP system.
Correct.
And if you're looking at this on the screen today, there's 27 places that money can go. And it doesn't matter if you're Dave Wiesner, Kenny Porter, Jeff Bezos,
Jeff Bezos, yeah.
you know, one of the richest men. Who's the richest man in the world now? Is it Jeff?
Could be.
You know, I don't know. I don't really keep up. He's not my client, so I don't pay attention to Jeff, if you're listening, give me a ring.
There you go.
But it doesn't matter who you are is the point.
Right.
All of your money is going to fit into one of these 27 places. And when you came to Leap Systems, you came as a program expert, right? As a programmer? I mean,
Yeah, I was.
Help me understand that.
Yeah, I came over from. That's kind of funny story too. We're just trying to stay on point, right?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter.
It
Just
don't. All right, good. All right. Well, Sarah, don't.
It's
don't
my
hate me.
show. I get to do whatever we want to.
There you go. So I came from. So I was at eMoney Advisor for 13 years, great years. And while I was there, majority of the time I was working on a product for a competitive product for another company, which I didn't realize at the time. And when I came over, I had no idea what, like from a software perspective, I don't know. Like I figured everything's web-based, whatever. We're in the we're in the late 20, we're getting near 2020. Like everybody's on the web, to say, hey, we're web-based, people like roll their eyes like, yeah, who isn't, right? If you're not, you're yesterday's news, right?
Yeah.
And so I came in and I was just trying to, like, after I understood the value of Leap, like to myself, I am a client. I got taken through the process and realized like how I'll say again, how screwed up we were. Like, I don't want to go too much into detail, like, and bore a lot of
screwed
listeners,
up meaning
but
you had assets, you had all the right stuff. You
had tons of good
checked all
stuff.
the boxes every advisor had ever told you to check.
valuable boxes, yeah.
You followed the rules.
I'm following my, 401 or qualified money's there, good. I got an umbrella policy. Yeah, I got a will and trust. I'm good, right?
Yeah.
And then we start going through. It's like, automobile. Why am I paying $250 deductible? Like, just quite.
Yeah.
And of course, it wasn't like I was getting. I went through with a Leap professional. Leap professional. It wasn't like It was just very question answer. Like, okay, well, and these are questions that no one else, other financial professionals that myself and my wife work with in the past, asked me these questions. No one
So
did.
we're not disparaging those people.
No, we're not
They
disparaging.
helped you get to where you were.
Absolutely. But just little questions that, like, I always kind of had in the back of my mind, but I'm like, well, I guess if no one else is asking about it, I guess it's not important, right?
Yeah.
Like, so, but like, I still remember these funny things. 2003, I'm working. I leave work late, and I'm up in PA, so, like, hit a deer, right, in front of my car, and I'm like, 2 a.m, just dumb deer standing, hit it. So back then, though, things were different, right?
Yeah.
Like, I had 2 young kids. My wife was working per diem, right, hours as a nurse to pick up time. So she was, and I wasn't making great money yet, So it was like having a car ding, having to pay $1,000 really sucked.
Right.
But, like, did it, got the car back 4 weeks later. I'm at a stop sign, and a deer runs into the side of my car with my son in the
Another
back.
deer.
Another deer. Car goes back in, another $1,000. So what do I say? Oh, I'm not doing that again.
Lower my deductible.
Lower that baby down because, I'm sure there's a deer going to hit me another 3 weeks. So go from $1,000 to $250 deductible because I'm smart. And I forget about it. You know how many times I've got hit by a deer since?
None.
Right. So it was like just a set it, forget it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm surprised because Geico didn't reach out to me and said, hey, Dave, you haven't hit a deer. Like, maybe you don't need the $250.
Yeah.
Surprising.
Yeah.
But
you wouldn't think that $250 is that big of a deal from a deductible of $1,000 to $250, but I think where you're headed with that is no one ever showed you the difference in those premiums.
correct.
And what you could have done with the excess if
Yes.
you put yourself on the hook for the small things in life.
Absolutely.
And let's put Geico, shout
Or
out
whoever,
to Geico.
sorry. Yeah. Hey,
It
they were
doesn't
solid.
matter.
When we had them, they're solid. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, we want a solid, reputable, highly rated carrier, right?
Correct.
We give them our premiums.
Yep.
But there's 4 rules of financial institutions that we know about in LEAP. And so this institution wanted your money.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted it on a regular and ongoing basis. They wanted to hold on to your money for as long as possible. And when a claim occurred, they would like to pay you or pay for as little as possible, right?
Correct.
So what folks don't understand in the story that you're sharing is that the lower the deductible, the greater the premium the insurance company charges.
Correct.
And puts in their pocket. But I think maybe where you were going with this is that if you kept making a claim, and if you made a claim on a $250 deductible and it was a $1,000 experience, what's the insurance company going to do to your premium?
Yep. Go up.
They're going to likely raise it.
Right.
And so what it sounds like to me is that when you sat down with, and was it Ben?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he explained to you, hey, Dave, here's the logic. Here's the emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Emotionally, you made an emotional decision. You said, I must be like a deer magnet.
Pretty much.
Right?
Yes.
So let's lower, and watch, you're going to leave here today, go home. No, I'm kidding. You're not going to run into a deer. That deer's going to stop and say, hi, Dave.
Yeah, wave.
Remember my father?
Yes. Right.
Thanks for killing him.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
So morbid.
Yeah.
But, Ben sitting down with you and saying, hey, Dave, there's another way to look at this. There's another way. And when we look down here in these assets.
Exactly. I was going to say.
Right?
It was holistically, at the time, like $250 maybe served me. But over time now, would I claim a $300 hit, or I have the assets now? And looking at my whole financial picture holistically, which only LEAP allows me to do. And I know that because I used other systems. And I would have my own Excel sheet. And my wife thought I was a little crazy. But because I want to see everything going on in our financial picture in a single view that's easy to look at. And I don't know, like you can't go wrong there.
Yeah.
Right? And then things get, out of sight, out of mind. Oh, I have an old IRA when you change companies, this lists everything on.
Right.
Right.
It is everything on the board.
Everything.
It's here.
There it is.
And I'll use, I'll just go in and put, blur these out, Sarah, when in post-production here, when people are showing their names. But
Sample client. Yeah, that's
Sample.
I like that.
Yeah, Mr. Sample, Mr. Mrs. Sample.
I think I know
Mr.
them.
Mrs. Client, you know
Yeah,
them?
I did that.
So this is what you basically went through. And this was a 51 and a 50-year-old. And so this is what we would refer to, Dave, in the system that's been built out and the software that you help create today. This is your baby, all right?
Yeah.
But this allows you, the consumer, to see everything that's going on in your life financially in a brief, an executive brief, a one-pager.
Single pager. That's the big thing. Absolutely.
And I've used this with attorneys, CPAs, other financial professionals. And what I like about this, it goes back to the music piece we were talking about in the first part of the episode, is that now I can be the conductor. I can orchestrate the drummer, the guitarist, the bassist, and have it all on one sheet of music, showing everybody their important part. Like, without the drums, the guitar by itself in a song sounds. Can you imagine Neil Peart? Now, he can do a really amazing drum solo, but without all of that coming together for Tom Sawyer, the song of all songs.
Yes, thank you.
Everybody that knows Rush,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Or at least us novice out there anyway. But all of those pieces coming together made a beautiful, amazing piece of art, song. And this is the same thing in LEAP, is that I can now show the client everything that's going on in their financial life. And taking the sales hype off the table, we're not going to fake it. We're going to actually come in and look at everything and give you a scope of where you are today, and then start working through the story of your life. And now we have a comparison to work against.
Right.
Here's this snapshot of where you are.
Yep.
And then we can go in and create a design. So you and the team created a design center which is pretty cool because then I can go in and take the data in their present position, show that, and then we can actually play out a movie of their life called Age and Aging and show them over their life expectancy how things play out with all things considered.
Correct. Yeah.
Which is a lot of fun. And then there's also these other tools that you've created over the years. This is one, I think, probably the classic favorite here that a lot of guys use. And we use this calculator to tell a story. So tell everybody about this calculator, Dave.
Yeah. So this was like, I think, right when I started. It had just been released, and we've made a lot of additions to it, again, based on feedback and what you use and questions that arise with clients and how to explain things easier. But, retirement pretty simple. It's like, if I've got all my money and it's in an IRA, and most people do, they're like, what do they do, right? I'm gonna invest. All my money goes into 401k. I'm gonna overfund it. I hear these stories, great. Okay, well,
because I'm going to be in a lower tax bracket when I retire. Number one,
yeah,
right?
and you're saving money now.
Yeah.
You're saving money investing in a qualified plan, right? And so when you get to retirement, you're going to start pulling money out of it.
Yeah.
But what they don't kind of fully explain to people is that money's still invested in something. Right. Unless you pulled the whole thing out and it's sitting under your mattress, right? And you're pulling dollars out, like in what was that, Breaking Bad, where they had money, cash in the walls and stuff. But they don't, right? Because they're going, oh, I'm invested because I'm going to make the money. I got to keep up with that. But then the problem is if you're pulling money out and then you have a down market, and it's kind of funny. You look back like, down markets, that never happens. Okay, how about the tech bubble in
we want to go there? Let's
do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's say we got
Absolutely.
A person has we'll make it easy for math today. We'll just say $1 million.
All right.
Person shows up to you and they got $1 million in their portfolio, and let's say they're 55 years old. Oh, they think they're going to make it to 90.
There you go. Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
And so we look out here and we go, what year were you born, Dave?
69.
Oh, me too.
There you go. Yeah.
I squeaked in December of 69.
I was March.
Oh, you're at the beginning of that period. So look at that. Holy moly.
I got made. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
12% rate of return. Net 10.
Yes. 10.67.
12% average rate of return. Sign me up.
Yeah.
Where can I sign up for that?
Why don't I do that?
Why not?
And this person looks out here into the future and goes, man, I got $34 million in the future. And we can see the math from that. So those people that love spreadsheets, you've created an opportunity for them to see what the future value of their present dollar, $1 million, would look like in the stock market. What's cool about this is that you also made it available where we can go, okay, well, that's 69 to 1990 and picking up, that 35-year span.
Yeah.
What if we changed that period of time? What if we went back to the Great Depression and said, okay, $1 million over 35 years. What's your guess? 35 years from 1929 to 1963, would that be, right?
Yeah, about
35 years?
Yeah.
What do you think the net return was? Put you on the spot here, mathematician.
Wow. I'm just going to close I'll say 4%.
4?
Taking into consideration the losses.
I think it was better than that. I'm gonna say 6.5, maybe even closer to 8.
Okay.
All right. But there was some really bad periods.
A lot of bad periods, yeah.
8.62.
Right, you got it. All right. I'm conservative by nature, so.
But here's what's wild. Before we start taking any distributions, you're 55 years old, you're in the 1920s, we're in a depression. So these are the stories, right? We gotta explain what's going on here, because human beings, as I'm sure you've experienced in working with hundreds and actually 1,000+ advisors in LEAP now, right?
Yeah. Yep.
We all as humans, if we started with $1 million and somebody told you, hey, in 4 short years, that million's going to turn into $357,000. Do you think you're doing anything different? Do you think you're calling your advisor going, hey, Thanks a lot, hotshot. You've turned $1 million. You've taken a large fortune and turned it into a small fortune. Thank you.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I lived this out in the dot-com bubble burst with clients who were living through, we had the amazing 90s and it roared along, and then the dot-com bubble burst hit 3 years in a row.
2001, 2002.
2003.
Brutal.
Yeah,
Brutal.
negative performance. We can show that here. But this is now when we get into telling these stories, Dave. Most people would look at this and say, well, gosh, if I retired here, and let's say I feel like I've made it and I get to 55 and I want to retire maybe, somewhere in this period here, maybe around 58, 59, why couldn't I retire? I'm going to have 18 million at the end.
Right.
That's because when we go right here to, well, Dave, in your ideal world, how much money would you love to have in retirement? And when are you going to start? When are you going to start taking that money? Right?
Yeah.
So we go to this person and we go, well, and again, I'm just showing what's been created and what you've done here with the system, which has been really cool.
Yeah.
Let's just say this person thought, man, I got $1 million and I can go ahead and retire today. I can use the 4% rule.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
And I can take $40,000 a year. I'm just going to take the interest off my portfolio. I'm averaging 8. Why don't I just take 4?
Let's do half. Yeah. There you go.
Let's go with half.
Yeah, half's fine.
So
Sure.
we start taking $40,000 a year, and then I go, oh man, Dave, you brought up this thing called the stealth tax. You brought up inflation. Over the last 100 years, Dave, I'm going to put you on the spot again.
Oh boy.
Inflation over the last 100 years. What do you think?
2.5.
Little higher. And you got the numbers here in front of you. I know you're the programmer.
Yeah.
About 3.1.
Okay.
So are you comfortable using 3.1? That's been the 100-year average.
Yeah, I think most people say 3.1. Yeah.
Yeah. But
That's fine.
Here the last 2 years, it's been a little, depending on whose politics you're listening to, right?
Correct.
Where you're buying your groceries, but been a little higher.
Yep.
Maybe in the 9s, maybe higher.
Yep.
Let's just go with averages just for now.
Yep.
And so what you did in the system is that you built in this 40,000 a year. We're able to show now that it's not just the present power of 49, it's what's that future power of that money. What is it going to take in today's dollars in the future to equalize 40 today? Right? So to have the same spending power today, just next year, after the increase at 3.1, it takes 41,000.
Yeah. That's all those
240
boxes of cereal that went from $3 to 6 of like.
And
Cocoa
I love
Puffs.
Captain Crunch, right?
Look, the
my
Captain
gosh.
Crunch. Remember the what's the one? What's the not the Captain Crunch? What's the one with the elephant?
Peanut
The
butter crunch.
Oh, I used to love peanut butter.
I've got some in my cabinet at
Oh,
home,
my
unless
God.
the grandkids have eaten it.
Highly likely.
Yeah. Sarah, who eats more cereal, Pop or the grandkids?
Definitely pop.
Definitely Pop. I love cereal. I think that's the era and where we grew up.
My dad
Did you used
still
to put the
does.
cereal boxes around you? Like I'd sit and eat breakfast in the morning.
And read the back.
Read the back.
Yes, yeah. Like it's going to
So
change
exciting,
every morning.
right?
Yeah, I used to do the same thing.
Yeah. See, these are the story. This now, oh God, and you could buy a box of cereal back then, the big family size, $1.25.
I was going to say $1.99, $1.25. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Craziness.
Yep.
Remember, you could get gum. You could go to the local convenience store and the wrapper gum. That
Oh, the
was
little bubble
and
bubble.
you get 5 pieces for a penny.
Oh, easy. Yeah.
And it blew my mind back then. I was like, a penny. This is the lowest denomination.
Double bubble.
Double bubble.
That was the best. It was probably awful for our teeth.
Oh God,
that was
yeah.
so good.
But
It was
like
hard.
5 chews.
Yeah,
and
right.
the
And then
juice
just
was
spit
gone.
it out. Yeah.
Oh
Great.
man.
Oh,
Look what
Bazooka
just
Joe
happened.
and Bazooka Joe.
Bazooka
Remember the Bazooka
Joe?
Joe? You saved
Yeah.
those things for the spy camera?
Yeah. Isn't this wild? I want everybody to see this, Dave.
This is, yep. Oh,
We started with $1 million, and over here, desired legacy, meaning what did you leave your family after you spent all your money? You took your $40,000 a year, indexed to inflation.
am I sweating? Is the camera picking?
It's
It's
me.
sweating.
Yeah, I'm sweating too. This
my
this
goodness.
lamp right here is just.
It
brutal.
must be. It's
but now
clearly.
that we're seeing these numbers,
Yeah.
and these are the conversations we have to have with folks, and with leap system and telling the story and saying, here's your present position, here's your model. What we've been able to do is help people understand the macroeconomics, the personal macroeconomics. And then now we're getting micro. Let's go in and look at the individual components of what you have. So if this was your qualified plan and we repeated this 35-year period, we repeated starting retirement in the Great Depression, we're going to run into a situation whereby year 14, if you're taking $40,000 a year indexed to inflation, you ran out of money.
I'm out.
That's not a story folks want to hear.
No.
And not when their prior advisor told them, oh, you're fine. You're going to be okay. Just, keep doing what you're doing. And what we have to do is be able to go in and show, well, how do we defend against those things taking place?
Right. What can I do for that?
What can you do?
Right.
And so what we've learned to do is to be able to have some sequence defense. It's not just playing offense. It's not just being in the market.
Right.
But if this person had this IRA or they had this asset, whatever it is, doesn't matter if it's in the IRA, outside of the IRA. But what we teach our clients is to have some non-market sources.
Right.
And if we could equalize that in an ideal world, let's say if I could just have that million equalize what I saved here on this side of the balance sheet.
Right.
What's fun about this, Dave, is that we're able to show now that in these years when markets start going negative,
Right.
if we've got an alternative place to go get money during the distribution phase, so instead of pulling from this market source, from this stock market source, what you were able to illustrate, what you and the team were able to build out, is allow us to share a story to say, hey, if we have these non-market sources, and I'll get into that in a later day, because I want to keep a little bit of suspicion for our viewers to go, well, what is a non-market source?
What might that be? Yeah.
Come have a conversation with us.
There you go.
And we'll show you. So not everything's free. There's no free lunch, right?
There is no free lunch now.
You got to come talk to me to figure that out.
Right.
But that defensive factor, this basically says mathematically that if we've got 40,000 units being spent, we've got about 25 of those. 40 times 25 is a million.
Yep.
Right? Now, in year one, I turn on this defense factor and I go, okay, let's offset that. The year after we had this negative return, let's go to a defensive position and take the money from somewhere else on our balance sheet.
Right.
And what I like to show is just this number right here is that when we did that,
One time.
let's go back and look at this number. Let's look at the difference that made. So 1,788,000. That defensive factor, having that in place, dropped the risk of running out of money. We're still negative. We're still in bad shape.
Right.
But we can keep playing this out until we figure out how many times we would have to do that to equalize. So we only got 25 of them,
Right.
right? We're already at 7. It took 8 of those in the Great Depression. Isn't that wild? So if we've got these assets that give us the permission slip, right?
Yep.
And we talk about that in our system and in our processes, is what gives you the permission slip to be fully invested.
Right.
What gives you the permission slip to stay in the market, to get the potential for the average return, is that you have to have a place that offsets that risk somewhere else on your balance sheet.
That always will be there.
Always will be there.
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah. Depression, down market,
Right.
banks in problem, the loan problem.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry. It's
And
not
we
gonna
know
work.
tools and processes that are proven by 150 plus years.
Correct.
And actually, we could even go back to the Roman Empire. I don't know if you've thought about this. Trade during the Roman Empire, when they would start moving trade, like the India Trade Company, and they would move through very tumultuous seas like the Indian Ocean, or moving up the shoreline of the Atlantic. The graveyard of the Atlantic has its name for a reason. The Atlantic has sunk many great ships. just in the storms that have taken them down, and then war that have taken down ships. But the idea here is that you didn't put all your eggs in one basket.
Okay.
Or what the Roman Empire understood is that if they moved a shipment of goods that was all sugar or all beans or all your eggs are in that one basket moving from point to point.
Okay.
So a way to insure against that risk was to diversify what you put on the ships.
In case, yeah.
So you might have 10 ships going and they all got sugar on them, or you got sugar on one, tobacco on another, you got wood on one. So they started diversifying the loads. Put a little bit of sugar on this one, a little bit of sugar on that one, a little bit of tea on this one, a little bit of tea on that one. And so they started mixing the loads to transfer the risk. That was the early stages of insurance.
Yeah.
And so most people think, oh, just insurance, car insurance, homeowners. Diversification can be a point of that. And having correlated and non-correlated, and that's using these fancy words.
There you go. I know.
When we can split these things up into different buckets, we now reduce risk. And so, my ship is sinking here. I got all the eggs in this one basket. And if I don't use this non-market basket appropriately, and I just keep spending from here, well, this bucket runs out in the 14th year. However, and you build a system for us to be able to illustrate this, Dave. This is the cool thing. I'm giving you some props here today.
I appreciate that.
And we didn't get into any of these other guaranteed incomes here, but these are tools that we're able to sit down with our client to say, hey, if we have a way to offset your financial risk and still keep you actively participating in the market,
Right.
and we can show you a way to do this with no additional out-of-pocket costs, with no additional risk, using the assets and the dollars that you have today, and mitigating the potential for erosion of wealth, like with inflation and taxes,
Right.
planned obsolescence, technological change, lawsuits, any of those things that can erode wealth.
Right.
What we've been able to show in the system that's been created all the way back to this model is we can show our clients, we can show the consumer true transparency. I like to say it's radical transparency because I can't fake the numbers. I can't just say, oh, just trust me, this is going to work out for you.
Right.
I can go, let's verify whether this will work out for you.
You don't have a number, by the way? Do you have your number?
My number?
Right. What's your number? When they say, what's your retirement number? What you need,
What do you need?
Like, I always joke with that, too. I always laugh with some of these people. I go, like, they were saying, like, how much you need to retire, your number. I'm like, I'm to the point, like, I'm 55. What's my retirement age number? Right. I don't even, like, right? Like, even it's hard to think, when do you want to retire? Because this concept also says, well, the sequence of returns, someone in 90, like we illustrate, 97, they've got $1 million and they want to retire in 97. And they want to live on X amount, 4%, whatever.
Yeah.
And they make it.
Yeah.
And his best buddy enjoys his job
Yeah.
and likes working. So he waits another year to retire because he likes his job. And the same amount of money, pulling out the same amount to start with, living on the same amount as his buddy, 1 year he doesn't make it.
In a while.
It's just, so what is your age? You don't even know, the age and the number, and it's just, you don't know. That's the whole point. But if you can tell me you've got I have the G, the guarantee.
Yeah.
And the golden ticket, like we go back to Willy Wonka, right? Like, I got the golden ticket. I got one of, right? If I can have one of those golden tickets, that can help me, and I got this guarantee and help me through retirement without you should be okay.
Yeah.
This should be like, Kenny, I was joking like last night when I flew down here. I heard the story before, so I'm
you can take it down, sir.
Plagiarism, but where it's like I get on a plane, Kenny, right? And I'm coming down to Virginia Beach to visit my good friend Kenny and his whole family, who's, by the way, phenomenal. And
the best.
I'll say the best outside of my family, the best.
That's right.
And I get on the plane, and the guy's going through, and you got the guy reading the litany of things that they have to read, when you're on the plane. And one's like, hey, and so by the way, we feel pretty good that we're going to get you there to Virginia Beach, tonight.
Yeah.
And actually looking here, well, we got like an 89% chance that we're gonna be able to land okay and not crash. So, yeah, everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Like-
89%. You're like, whoa. Wait a minute.
Yeah. What? 89? Yeah. What do you mean? We got good. We feel pretty good about it. No. Do you want to? You're going to guarantee I'm making it, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like so you feel that way flying in your life, but when you're actually talking numbers and stuff, you're not okay with that. You're okay with. Well, you should be okay. Should be, or will I be? So that's the power of what you do and what we're able to offer you with Leap, helping to explain that to people.
Yeah. And that's the entire thing, is that it takes the sales hype that happens in our industry. And, today, and again, I pick on my industry a lot, but, a lot of guys will throw out that F word and fiduciary.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, you should be. That shouldn't be something that's forced or relegated or regulated by an industry. You should have that calling. If you're going to be in this business, you should absolutely be doing your best to do the right thing for your client. And if you don't, you should have liability. But bottom line, it's 100%. Like if you own a restaurant, you have a fiduciary responsibility to not serve your clients rotten food, right? Or get them sick.
Yeah.
What's the word? Salmonella.
Salmonella, yeah. The fish. I didn't really cook the fish, but here, have it anyway.
Eat it anyway. I think you'll be okay. You've got a
should
good
be okay.
gut.
You should be okay. Eat that.
Right.
Redfish.
I mean, that our industry and how it regulates the advisor sometimes, the means of the end, I can understand what they're trying to do, but what ends up happening a lot of times is that it actually hurts the consumer.
Right.
And what we should be doing is saying, hey, advisor, financial professional, verify to your client the financial decisions that they're making. And wouldn't that be the way that you want as a consumer, is to have your advisor verify the numbers with you, give you full disclosure on their advisory fees, on their commissions, on their ways that they're being compensated? In our model, we actually show that. And we pride ourselves on saying, here's how it works. Here's the numbers. Here's how we get compensated. Here's the cost of doing business. And I always say to folks that anything in absence of value is very, very, very expensive. But when there's value, what's the cost? Priceless, right? It's
right.
It's a position that we can share with people in a way. And what you've created and brought to the table since the infancy of Leap and what you've added to it, it only proved that the master of Leap, the godfather of Leap,
yes,
Robert Castellon, was way ahead of his time.
Oh, he's so far ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard it's funny because since we're on diverging here, we're doing great, but we're good there with this.
This is what the podcast is about.
There you go.
So black box is we're discovering as we go, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you don't know what goes on that's the whole point. Right. It's the black box,
right?
So I remember when I first came on, I heard stories before. So my previous company, someone was a close partner with Bob Castellone. And I had heard about these stories, like people showing up late and being yelled at and all that, right? Whatever. And I'd just be like, so when I first started with Leap, my mother-in-law was living close to where he was retired in Florida. And I said, well, look, I reached out to him. I said, hey, look, I'm going to be in the area. I'd love to chat with you. And he was kind of funny. I got this email back. He said, great. Well, let me know what questions you have. And I'm like, I didn't have any. I didn't have like this laundry list. Like I just wanted to meet him. And I was like, I just want to meet you. How did you come up with it?
Right.
Like, what drove you to do this? Because I believe it's brilliant. And I just want to meet the man and kind of what,
Yeah.
That's all. And keep in mind, so this is 2018, like September, I think, is when I met him. And my father-in-law, unfortunately, he passed away in 2014. Great, just a really great guy, and worked so hard for his life to be shortened. Wasn't fair, but like that's the kind of guy he was, right? So when I met Bob down at his golf club in Florida, right, and met me, and we sat down, and we're like, it's like 3:00, and he's like, all right, let's have a drink, and we're like, maybe he ordered some appetizers, and I'm like, but he was talking, but I tell you what, though, like I'm like, I don't know what these guys are saying before. Now maybe retirement changed him. He was like, I was like, I didn't see any of this, like. He was like from soup to nuts, from the beginning to the end. Like his background, how he came up with it, the ideas of things, like wanted to know about me. When we left, and it was weird. And I told my wife this, and it's hard to tell people that knew him, in the business sense.
Yeah.
But we were walking out, and I felt like he was like my father-in-law's reincarnated.
Wow.
We walked out of the golf club, and he had his arm around me, and I'm like, this is. Like I just felt like I had, it was weird, I felt so comfortable, and I just respected him so much more, and I never even knew him, and I'm like, look, I'm just, and it was funny because when I came in, like a couple weeks later, I went to a leap training, and leapers are there, and they're like, well, so what are you going to do new with Leap? I'm like, what do you mean? Like I'm like I'm supposed to do something, like what's the next step with Leap?
Yeah.
What's the future Leap? I'm like, future. I'm like, the model, and my answer is the model's the model.
It's timeless.
It's not like there's nothing there. I'm like, my whole job, again, I felt like I was like, instead of coming in at the Browns from an intelligent perspective, I'm like, no, I'm coming into like a Patriots organization. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And I don't plan on doing anything. And when I came from E-Money, everybody was worried because they were like, oh, you're traditional planning because that's E-Money. They kept telling me that. I'm like, and before I understood what Leap was, I'm like, what do you mean traditional planning? I don't even know. But coming in a Leap and understanding, money times rate times time. There you go, Kenny. That's what you have. You're like, yeah, no.
Right.
But because of that, when I came in, from the technology standpoint, what I was able to offer and help out was, I came in, there was like a desktop product written in 95.
Oh, God, I remember.
Right. And people swore on it. Like, it was like people swore on it. Right?
I wasn't one that swore on it.
Okay, yeah.
You're talking about Leap 1, the original version.
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
You see?
I swore on it.
Right, okay. So you did, right? That was written in 95.
Yeah.
Okay. Then there was something else written mid-2000s.
Wealth in Motion. Yeah.
And then there was the web version.
Yeah.
So when I came in, my problem was, which I didn't figure out in a couple of months into it, I'm like, yeah, I see the problem here. You had trainers that swore on the old stuff, and those are old Guardian, or not Guardian, I don't want to say that, but
You did.
I did.
The old,
but predominantly, very successful, proven. Like, we use the software, this is what we want, don't screw it up.
Right.
That's my feedback. Wealth in Motion were people like more detailed. You had to know where every dollar was going from the beginning to end, and if you were missing something, you had to spend hours. And those are like PhDs in like cash flow. You had to understand it. So most old-time Leap people did not like when WIM came out, and some people really liked WIM. And then we had this sort of half-cooked burger. There's the website.
Mm-hmm.
So literally, I come in, and depending on which trainer you had, they would train on the old, which then would just be philosophy, and then they would show some of the old calculators.
Yeah.
They do Wealth in Motion training, and they would go through that, and you'd have to have the PhD, quote unquote. Yeah. And then, like, the new people push in, like, the new hip, cool, come on, websites, everybody's doing it, right?
Yeah.
Even though it's like 2018, right? So I come into it, and I'm going, well, desktops, how can we, because, most of the problem was, like, apps wouldn't run on the desktop, hours spent installing it, depending, if you're running this security software, it wouldn't run. Just, if the computer crashed, there goes all your client data.
Right.
Right. And then you've got the website. Now, our problem was on the client website, or the website that we wrote, that was written, tons of bugs. And at the time, they were trying to, like, let's do more functionality.
Yeah.
As opposed to going, whoa. So when I came in, there was like a second version of Retirement Pressures getting ready to, like, they were working on to be released. And I'm like, there's all, like, calculation issues. So I have people complaining, I'm paying for this thing, there's bugs. You want to add more? It's like putting lipstick on a pig, right? like the burger is undercooked. Let's put a piece of lettuce on. They won't notice. So how about let's get a better bun on that? It's like, so I pulled the plug on a lot of that stuff, and I wasn't popular at the time. But like I said, we need a fix. So all development was being outsourced. I brought in, like, he's the best developer, Bill Reed. I could put props.
Shout out to Bill. Yeah,
Shout out to Bill.
Yeah.
Bill rewrote the design center. He's written a bunch of functionality. He's tremendous. He's always been very underrated, I think. But so we did all the stuff in. We got all the bugs fixed. We started taking stuff from the old software, put it in the new to get people all on the one platform. Yeah. And then when COVID hits, we really got crushed because Microsoft was very nice to our vendor reached out to us who wrote Wealth in Motion and WIM, and they were like, hey, Microsoft stopping support of Flash January 1st. I think it was 2021. And I was like, okay, or 2022. I was like, all right, great. Yeah, I know. Why? Why am I concerned? Well, Wealth in Motion is 90% in Flash. I was like, that's a problem, right? And we didn't own the software.
And I hated it.
Right.
It was a booger, honestly.
Yeah. There was out of all our users, there was like 1/6 of the user base swore by WIM. Yeah. So it was like, so I said, okay, what functionality, what can we do to get in the software on the online without breaking, without, people that don't want all that functionality? What can we add in there to get it to where they need it to be without changing what you guys like and need? So it's like it's always constantly our fine line. We need it easy, but it's got to do a million things. But we need it easy, but it's got to do all this stuff. And it's, so it's like, and that's what I do. So we worked on that, and then the Classic stopped working too at the same time. So like everybody had to go online, and then with COVID, not being able to get to your computers, a lot of people had their papers in their offices. Right. So I made the push. Everything's got to be accessible.
Yeah.
From the website. Yep. So everything's now
in the cloud. In
the cloud, web-based, secure. We've got two-form authentication option up there. We got, it's all encrypted everywhere. No one's getting to your data. And now it's a single platform. So now when you go to training, you could go philosophy, pull up, let me show you a presentation. It's all on the same platform. Yeah. So now everybody is there using the same stuff. But the better part is, like I said, when I first started, I don't consider myself like I'm going to come up with these great ideas, right? A lot of things I come up with now is from a client perspective, to be quite honest. Yeah. When we do these calculators, like you were saying, like you got these guys come in, they're all like you want mathematical and stuff. And then I litmus test with my wife. Now, she's nursing background, right? She's got a doctorate, teaches nursing, community college. She's a sharp cookie, okay? And a lot of times, let me tell you, like you always go, it's like, oh, you want to be married, like, oh, you're married to a massage therapist. You're so lucky. You get massage every night. It's like, no, right? So being married to an ex-nurse, I'll say, oncology background, a lot of times it's really not, sometimes it's not great because she knows things oftentimes not so good news. Yeah. And she'll know because she knows, right? But like we'll sit down, and when I go, let me go over this concept with you, she's like my litmus test because I read her eyes. If I see the glaze, then it's like it's too much in the weeds. Like unless you're going to be able to present the concept where you could do it from your experience, Kenny. Like how you go. Like I don't sit there and go. I hear some lead people, they could just tell a story. They don't even need to use the software. Others rely heavily on it, But they could tell the story. They're well enough. They've got a lot of experience. They understand the concept. The numbers are just there. They don't really need them. Right. But they're there just in case someone has a question. And you go, well, here's the number, right? So I use her often. But like if I understand it and it's something that's meaningful to me, I'm really all vested in it because I go, all right, if I'm a client, what am I looking for? If you're going to explain to me this concept that's going to help me and my wife, and for example, if I can give a shout out, like we're getting ready to do something. It's called IRA wealth transfer.
Yep.
And it's coming out in 2 weeks. And it's something important to me because it affects me, and it would have helped my father and others, right?
Yeah.
Where they've got all this money in a qualified plan, and then as they're going in retirement, they don't want to take money out. And I'm like, why not? Because they're going to get crushed on taxes.
Right.
But that's the whole. But they
Yeah.
don't tell you that story early on. They
Right.
just say, you got this great nest egg, and you're all proud of
Yeah.
it, right? So
I run into that all the time, Dave, that the
Yeah.
past advisors, especially with the baby boomers,
Mhm.
that they were indoctrinated, for lack of a better term, that they needed to postpone the tax
right,
because they came out of a period where taxes were as high as 70% for some of our parents and grandparents. Before that, it was high as 94% in the 1940s.
Right.
And so they were like, man, let's postpone the tax. And when I retire, I'm going to be in a lower tax bracket.
Mhm.
And then what they found is that as taxes were actually reduced, which appears to be a good thing, the trickery in that is that as you age and as you perform and your investments perform well, you perform well in your job, you get a pay raise. And you postpone the tax on those pay raises.
Mhm.
And you put that money away systematically over time.
Right.
And the magic of compound interest with no tax
Yeah.
looks beautiful
That's great. Look at that. Yeah.
until you start to distribute.
Yep.
And
That's what
then,
they're waiting for you.
and then the government constrains how quickly you have to distribute.
Yeah.
So that's,
Yeah.
you were sharing what your father
Yep.
running into that situation.
Yeah.
And he was taught that way, postpone.
Same.
And then you learning from that experience by being a client, not only the programmer, the president, the chief of the
Right.
LEAP systems, you went through the process yourself and saw, well, wait a minute. If I continue down this path, my present position is going to lead to this excessive consequence of tax
Correct.
by the way I was taught to do it previously.
Right.
And so you were shown options,
Yep.
and then we're able to choose, do I want to implement all of it, some of it, or just say, you know what, let's keep postponing. Let's
Right.
do none of it right now.
Right. And it's like, and the great thing is, like when I can look at this tool from a client perspective or a LEAP
Yeah.
practitioner perspective, and there's my numbers, and I put them in, and I can go, all right, let's say we wait till year 5. Maybe I pull some money out here. What if I live to be, and that's the other thing. Kenny, how long you plan on living till I don't till the Browns win a Super Bowl. Like
right.
some people, it's like whatever. You don't know. You hopefully as long as you can, right? But you don't even know that. But you just want to know. You want to be able to have a tool to go. All right, let's say you live to be 99. Great.
Yeah.
And some people might go, oh God, no. And go,
Yeah.
all right, well, let's move it. If we do this move, you're okay. And look, but the main thing is, and for me at least personally, I think I've reached that plateau. I'm officially old when you start. I think when you start having, when you have holidays,
Yeah.
and you're more excited when you see your kids
Yeah.
giving them things and they're happy. And when I think someday when I have grandkids and it's like, I know that'll be my life. Right. And it's just like, I'm to that point where I'm looking at, I want to make sure my kids are so well off, and my wife will be, God forbid, if something happens to me first. But, we know that we want to make sure if our kids, I would love nothing more for them not to have to worry about things. Right. And that's where I'm at now. But like, if I can do that with this tool and I can actually use my own numbers and go, wow, like this is great. Like they get this much money. It's tax free.
Yeah.
Like government doesn't touch it. And I may leave some stuff that they may have to get taxed on, but if it's in a better situation, if I do nothing and they have to pay all this tax, but if I can do something with money and it's not going to affect me at all, and it'll help them. And I'm the client. I'm acting like I'm the client. I'm like, so who would say no to it? Like,
Right.
And that's where like I kind of go back to you, Kenny. I go, all right, we got this great idea, Kenny. Like, and I went over this with Ben. I go, well, here's a concept. Like, what would you do? Like, what objections do you would you have? All right, what can we add to this tool to make it even easier?
Right.
Because I see the huge value in it, and I'm doing it for myself. I can't be the only person.
Yeah.
So if I think this is that valuable and stuff, I know it's going to be
Yeah.
to have others. So that's how I'm looking at things.
That's so awesome. And
Yeah, man.
I'm hearing folks in the background. See how fast this goes on a podcast and why we do a long form
Yeah,
podcast?
5 minutes.
I'm blinking. Yeah, I was like, I blinked. That's crazy.
It's here and it's
crazy.
done. And now with everything that you've brought to the table today and helping just kind of introduce Leap Systems to the big world out there of our listeners and our growing listeners. Thank
That's
you
right.
so much for your leadership and what you've done in Leap Systems and sharing a little bit of your life as a drummer, which I'm still trying to picture you with hair, as I'm sure you are with me. But Dave, you're doing a great job, and more to come. We're going to have more examples and more. We're building out a literacy course and platform that's based on the backbone of Leap Systems.
Yep.
Because my clients have been asking for, hey, can you share with my son or daughter how this works and how important this is for having the literacy today of taking away a lot of the confusion that's in the marketplace
Right.
with consumers and as it relates to financial planning or what we would refer to where financial planning leaves off, Leap picks up.
There you go.
And so the world of personal financial engineering.
Yes.
Are we still able to say that these days?
I think so. Yeah. It sounds cool. It sounds geeky. I like that. Professional engineering.
You're leading the charge in helping make it easier for advisors and consumers to come together and understanding how to maximize their protection benefits, maximize their savings benefits, maximize their growth benefits.
Right.
Who wouldn't want the max? Right.
Yeah.
And if you don't want the max, then we're maybe just not a good fit to
Probably not.
talk to. So
Right.
that's okay too.
Right.
But those that are interested and want to know more, feel free to subscribe, hit the like button.
Yep.
And if you have questions, drop those inside the comments in YouTube, and we'll chat with you and figure out how we can help you.
There you go.
Dave, thank you, sir.
Kenny,
Pleasure.
thank you.
I'm looking forward
Pleasure
for
as
the rest
always.
of the day to
Absolutely.
learn more from you and
Definitely.
more to come in the near future.
You got.
And when you said you're in a band now, can we shout out the band?
I would, but it's so early that I don't think there's a name.
Really?
Yeah, it's like that early.
Where are you guys
But
playing at? What are you
We're doing. I think we got a gig in a couple weeks. We're playing at this brewery in Cape May, New Jersey, doing like Beatles, Clapton, Cream.
Is that
Easy
the
stuff
beer
like
place
that.
right there by the ferry?
Could be.
Dog. No, what's it called?
No, not Dogfish.
Not Dogfish.
It's not Dogfish.
It's not
no.
Dogfish?
It's
Oh,
Cape
dang.
May. I think it's
Cape
called
May
Cape
Brewing.
May Brewing.
Okay.
But we're gonna be there in a couple weeks on I think like in fact next weekend, next Saturday. In fact, we're there first
Fun.
gig with these guys, so should be fun.
Ripping up the drums. Huh?
Trying, yeah.
All right, man. You know what? I might throw a cat in the car and surprise you and come up and watch you play.
That would be cool.
Can I
First
do
round's
that?
on me.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Deal. Fun. Hey, thanks for being on today.
Thank
We're
you
going to
very
have you
much.
back on in the future, and
Definitely.
we'll do more.
Good
Thank
deal,
you, brother.
Bye bye.
Blackbox.